Hello. So as our hallway hikes are coming to a conclusion, I wanted to talk about something today that is within the hallways, but also extends to outside the hallways. First of all, our complex offers valet trash, which is a really nice service. We pay a little bit for it, and it's where you put your trash out after a certain time of the day in the evenings, and someone will pick it up overnight, and then you bring in your empty trash can by a certain time in the next morning. So there's time that you can put the trash can out after, and there's time you're supposed to have your trash can back inside, so it keeps the hallways clear during the day. It's a great service. We've lived here 5 months, and I've actually only used it one time when Johnny was out of town. But usually we actually take our trash down to the trash compacting dumpster that is provided on site. And most of the time I take my walks at a time of the evening that is before people are supposed to put out their full trash cans, and obviously after they're supposed to have their empty ones back in. But inevitably, there are both empty trash cans that have not been brought back in and full trash cans that are out early. And I know there's certain circumstances where those things don't happen, that there's some things that might be in somebody's life where it prohibits them from using those times. But what God was showing me was aside from those special circumstances. Now, secondly, our apartment is actually a smoke-free apartment complex. Now, I'm not having any commentary on actually smoking. The point is that there are rules about smoking on the premises. And our maintenance staff is awesome. They keep our property really neat, really clean, picked up, tidy. Everything always looks good inside the buildings and outside the buildings. But inevitably, we find cigarette butts somewhere just, between walking from the parking lot to our building and inside the building. When I walk these halls, especially floor 3, I get the distinct pleasure of smelling weed, which is coming out from under somebody's apartment, because I never see them, but it fills up that part of the hallway. And again, I'm not making commentary on smoking. I'm just talking about the fact that people are they're not following these rules. And finally, our little courtyard. So we live on the 2nd floor and we overlook a courtyard. The courtyard, it doesn't have any grass, but it's got some trees and flowers surrounded by mulch. It's got a pathway from the parking lot to the buildings, to 2 of the buildings, because we share the courtyard. It's got benches, it's got a picnic table, and it also has this really nice gas grill with quartz surround, to let people use it and everything. And there's a sign for the grill that says that you can use it from dawn a.m. to dusk p.m. And so one night, Johnny and I were in the den watching TV, and about 10:30 at night, we could hear voices. And we peek outside, and there's these 2 men down there starting up the grill at 10:30 at night. They're talking really loudly, and they stayed down there for a good while. It was annoying. It was inconvenient. But our bedroom is actually not on that side of the building, and so we went on to bed. We didn't say anything. Well, a few weeks later, about 11 o'clock, there were a new group of guys down there starting up the grill again. And this time there was actually a guy in a car that parked right next to the courtyard, and he had his doors open and there was music going. And again, this is unusual for our complex, but it was too much. It was a bit much for us. So we tried to call the after-hours security. We didn't get an answer or a machine, and so we just didn't say anything. Again, our bedroom's on the other side, so we went on to bed. The next day, we emailed the complex and told them what had happened, and the girl that I've worked with several times, she's super sweet, and she apologized immediately, and she said, I'm going to actually read what she said. Okay, so she said, while the grill area is accessible for use 24 hours, we kindly remind all residents to be mindful of the time and their surrounding neighbors. Okay, but we had seen a sign that said dawn a.m. to dusk p.m. So we emailed back in a nice way and just told her about the sign. Promptly, she emailed me back, again apologizing. Actually, it was Johnny. Again apologizing and said, you're right. She said at other complexes, they have other apartment complexes around, the management company does. And so she said at other ones, the girls are inside the pool area and that is accessible 24 hours. But she had forgotten that ours was in the courtyard. And so she said, you're right. The sign's correct, because we were confused. Why is she telling us one thing and there was the sign? So anyway, we didn't make it a big deal, but we wanted to just clarify. Now there aren't really high consequences if you mishandle your trash and the times that they say you can set it out or that you have to have it back in, or if you are smoking cigarettes or weed or anything, or if you're using the grill after hours, or if you let your dog potty in that mulch, which we only really can tell when it rains, and then we can all smell that dogs use the mulch to potty and not the designated areas. But I digress. The rules are out there for everyone's benefit to keep the property as neat and clean as possible, and as smelly free, both inside and out. And God has set before us His set of guidelines, His rules, if you will. Now, it's up to us whether we decide to follow them or not, but I'm betting most of us actually follow many of those rules set before us. Don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, love your neighbor as yourself. These are rules that whether you're a believer or not, you probably live by, and you probably don't really push against those rules. But His book is filled with tons of rules to help us live a prosperous life, a hope-filled life, the best life possible. And yet we find ways to bend those rules or even break them to live how we want to live, sometimes not even considering how it affects those around us. Now, maybe we haven't murdered anyone, but maybe we gossip. Maybe we put our trash out there for others to hear, or maybe we take the trash from someone else and we share it with other people. We air their trash to others, and maybe we wear our trash on our sleeves, bitterness or jealousy and envy, anger, those types of emotions. Maybe we wear them on our sleeves and we force everyone else to deal with those our emotions, and they walk on eggshells, they tiptoe around us so they don't add to our hurt. Maybe we blow smoke in ways that we think are secret, but other people are finding our cigarette butts and having to clean up our mess behind us. Maybe we're forcing them to smell the weed on us or around us without ever having to see us smoke it. Maybe we don't even know what the rules are anymore. Maybe we've heard people say things that sound so much like Him that we just assume that they are Him and that we must know what He thinks, and instead of actually knowing what He says is best. And maybe we just ignore God's rules and we walk the other way, not really considering how it's going to affect others or what it communicates to others, or even worse, what it communicates to God, our Father, our Creator. And we just go about our merry little way because it's what feels good to us. So maybe it's time to clean up parts of our journey. And that's where my prayer today begins. I'm praying that as we seek God first, that we're actually brave enough to go to His Word and see what He says in His guidelines, in His book, as His rules that He sets before us, instead of assuming we know. Maybe we need to reread some of these things instead of assuming that what we remember might be right, and that the things that we've decided are good or not so bad, and therefore they're probably okay with God. He sets out many signs for us if we just take time to read them. And I pray that we trust Him enough to recognize they're for our benefit and for the benefit of those around us. They're there to help us live our best lives. They're there to help us live neat and clean and as smelly-free lives as possible, to benefit both us and those around us. And as always, I pray that we have the courage to follow and obey. So I'll leave you with Another one of my favorite sets of verses that was spoken by Paul, the Apostle Paul, to the Christian church at Philippi. And you guys have probably heard this, but Philippians 4, 8, and 9 says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you." Thanks for being on this journey with me. I hope you have a great rest of your day.